Good morning, loves. I hope that you are having a wonderful day, no matter when you are listening to this. Maybe it's not morning, maybe it's evening. But I hope that you are having a good day, taking care of yourselves. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some time for yourselves. I know that listening to podcasts, like it can be an easy thing to fit into our schedules, right? Like if we're driving or um, doing things that are mindless and we can listen to other things. But it can also be really hard to make time for podcasts. We can be really busy with other things or not feel like putting anything else in our brains when life is really busy. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I hope that this is helpful for you. I hope that these podcasts are always helpful for you. Um, and I'm grateful to all of you that show up and who enjoy and who get things out of this. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Abby Mallard. I am the owner of Health My Friend, and I am a nutrition and food relationship coach. So, I work with clients to help them build healthy relationships with food, exercise, and themselves. Body image, food freedom, loving life. Those are some of my focuses in business. I really struggled with an eating disorder when I was younger, and so that has made me very passionate about helping other people who struggle in those areas. Now that I'm at a really healthy place, very grateful for that, and very thankful that I get to help other people who struggle with those things that I used to really struggle with. No confidence, hating my body, approaching health goals in a very unhealthy way, right? I always say, I love helping people reach their health goals, but I want to help you reach them in a very healthy and sustainable and good for your body and mind way, right? Something that's not going to be obsessive, something that's not going to be unhealthy for your body, something that's not going to be unhealthy for your mental health. Um, Something that is sustainable so that it's not a back and forth of hitting health goals and then, oh, we're going back to where we used to be, and then hitting a health goal again, and this back and forth cycle that a lot of people struggle with. And if you struggle, like, don't be ashamed of that. Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up for it, but know that there is a better and a healthier and a more sustainable way. And if you need help with that, that is what I'm here for. So that's just a little bit about me. If you are new here, on this podcast, we talk about all things health and wellness, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all those things. So I'm glad that you're here. Welcome. So let's dive into today's topic. Um, I really want to talk about food today. So a few weeks ago, I did a podcast on exercise and your exercise schedule and what your relationship with exercise looks like. Um, if you haven't listened to that one, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that one. But I want to focus more on your relationship with food today. So we talked about our relationship with exercise a few weeks ago, and I kind of want to take that same style into today's podcast and talk about, your relationship with food. So I want you to think, just kind of evaluate right now, what is your relationship with food? How do you view food? Is it the enemy? Is it fuel for your body? Is it pleasure? Is it annoying? um, what is your relationship with food? Like, how do you view it? And then also, what does that relationship look like? So, do you constantly think about food? Do you have a strict schedule that you have to eat on specific times or at specific times and you can't stray from that? Um, do you only allow yourself to eat certain food groups or certain foods? Are there certain foods that you don't allow yourself to eat? Uh, are you always thinking about like what you're going to eat next, or beating yourself up for maybe what you've already eaten? So I just want you to kind of think about that a little. What is your relationship with food? And what does your relationship with food look like? And on a scale from 1 to 10, if you could rate your relationship with food, 1 being really bad, 10 being really good, what would you rate it? I ask you these questions, and I like to start out podcasts in this way because it gets you thinking about you and your life and your relationship with these things, right? Like, I could talk all day about all sorts of things regarding health, but maybe it's not going to resonate with you because you're not thinking about how it relates to you. And so, going into these podcasts and these topics, I want you to really think about like, what is it like for you? What are these different things like? What are you struggling with? What is going well? So that as I talk about different things, it resonates a little more and you can maybe apply it a little better to your life more practically. Because I want you to always get something from these podcasts. I don't want it to ever be like I'm just talking at you. I want, it's not interactive because you're not here, but I want it to be interactive in the sense of having you evaluate your life and checking in with yourself. So that's why I ask these questions. So I really want you to think about that. Okay, so your relationship with food. It can be really healthy and it can be really unhealthy. And it can be kind of somewhere in the middle. And that's okay. And whether you feel like your relationship with food is healthy or unhealthy right now, it's okay. I had a very unhealthy relationship with food for about 8 years of my life, at least. So I am not someone here to judge you or shame you or make you feel bad for your struggles. I am here to relate to you and to understand and to help you change those mindsets and those patterns and those beliefs and those actions because I know how hard it is to be in that space. And I know how much better it is to be in a really healthy space. So if you are struggling, don't feel bad for struggling. Just know that you're not alone in the struggle. A lot of people struggle. And there's also hope. You don't have to stay in the struggle forever, right? Like, I think a lot of times when we're struggling with something, when we're really in the trenches, we feel like it's never going to end. It's going to last forever. It's never going to end. We're always going to feel this way. It's always going to suck. It's always going to be shitty, whatever. But it's not. There's hope and there's better to come. And sometimes you have to put in the work to get to that better, but there is a future of better and healthier and more free. So, when I was struggling with an eating disorder, I didn't so much, well, I did. I cut out different food groups or different foods. I didn't let myself eat things. And that turned into a very unhealthy pattern of not letting myself eat something. And then I would eat a lot of it. And then I would make myself, get rid of it. I would not keep it in my body. So I think that it's really, 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 really important to eat all of the food groups, all of the foods, if you feel okay on them physically. Obviously, if you have intolerances or allergies, like stay away from those foods that don't help you feel your best. But it's important to allow yourself to eat all of the foods. So often when people are working on health goals, whether it's losing weight or changing body composition or feeling more energized or more like stronger. Any time that people are working on health goals like that, a lot of times I see them cut out food groups. Excuse me. Particularly carbs. So that's a big thing, right? People cut out carbs. Like carbs are the enemy. I'm sure you've heard that. Maybe you believe that. Maybe you don't eat carbs, but I think that it's very, very important to eat everything, eat all of it. And if there's something in a certain food group that doesn't agree with your system or your stomach, your body, eat something different in that food group, but don't cut out a food group altogether. What happens when we do this is one, it's not a healthy relationship with food because you're viewing that food as bad, right? There aren't any bad foods. There aren't bad foods. There aren't good foods. You might not agree with that, but there aren't bad foods and there aren't good foods. Foods that you feel good on, I might feel bad on. Foods that I feel good on, you might feel bad on. So there are no good foods or bad foods. It's just food. It is literally just food, and it's how we choose to use it and utilize it and consume it and view it that makes it not good or bad, but healthy or unhealthy for us mentally and physically, right? Because it's not just physical. Sometimes people feel really bad on a food, but it's not physical, it's mental. It's because they're shaming themselves for it. So, going back to important to eat all the foods. So, one, it's unhealthy. Unhealthy relationship with food, which is not setting you up for success when it comes to food, because food is working for you, not against you. And then two, it starts you in this cycle of restriction. And a lot of times when people are restricting a lot, it becomes this pattern of restricting and then binging, restricting, binging. So what I mean by that is you don't allow yourself to eat a food for however long you go. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 2 months. But then because you haven't been allowing yourself to eat it and you're really hungry for it or craving it, you allow yourself to eat it, and you don't only eat like a serving size or, a moderate amount, you eat a lot of it. A whole bag, big bag of potato chips, 2 cartons of ice cream, like whatever it might be. You eat a lot of it. So it's this cycle of, and then after you eat a lot of it, you like restrict yourself again so that you can't eat it. So it becomes this cycle of restriction and eating a lot. Restriction, eating a lot. That's not healthy either, right? Like, first of all, who wants to live that way? Second of all, it's not good for your body. And then third, so you need all food groups in order to function well. All food groups. You need them to function well physically. You also need them to function well mentally. So your body converts carbohydrates into energy. Carbs are the main thing that give your body energy, that give your muscles strength. So when you're not eating carbs and you feel really tired and you feel sluggish and you feel like you have no energy, guess why? Because your body isn't getting those things that it converts into energy. Make sense? So your body needs carbs to have energy. And I think we all want energy. We all want energy for life, for our relationships, if you have kids, for friends, for being able to live the lives that you want to live. So your body needs carbs in order to create that energy. One reason why it's really important. Another reason, so your brain automatically gets about 40% of the nutrients that you consume right away. That's almost half. So not only does your body need all of the carbs and fats and proteins and vegetables and fruits and all of the food groups in order to function well physically, but you also need it to function well mentally, for your brain to function well. So maybe you feel like you can't focus. Maybe you feel tired mentally. Maybe you feel like you're struggling with anxiety or stress, or just like being all over the place, like can't focus, right? Part of that can be because you're not getting enough nutrients. You're not getting enough food. You're not getting enough carbs. You're not getting enough proteins, fats, veggies, fruits, all of the different things. Because 40% of everything that you eat automatically goes to your brain, because your brain needs it to function well. It needs it to be able to think clearly, needs it to be able to keep you on track with life, right? So that's really, really interesting. And I think that that's a helpful thing to remember when you're maybe struggling with allowing yourself to eat, or allowing yourself to eat more than you feel like you should, or quote unquote should, right? What you've been told you should eat. So remember that your brain gets 40% of your nutrients automatically. The other reason, and this is really interesting and really important, so going along with your brain needing those nutrients, a sip of my Energize here, some caffeine. Along with your brain needing those nutrients in order to function well. So with people who struggle with mental health issues, so if you struggle with anxiety or PTSD or ADHD, anything like that, not getting enough nutrients, not getting enough food actually can aggravate the symptoms of those issues, because your brain needs nutrients in order to function well. And your brain and your body work together in all of those areas, especially PTSD, to, like, they're always communicating with each other. So if your brain isn't getting enough nutrients, your body is not getting enough nutrients, you struggle with PTSD, it's just going to aggravate the symptoms of PTSD. So you're going to be stressed more, triggers are going to be more intense, and I don't think any of us want that, right? So it's really interesting and fascinating to me that so many people don't eat enough, or cut out different food groups, or don't allow themselves to eat when they're hungry. And then they feel tired, they feel anxious, they feel what we call hangry, like angry. They feel irritable, they feel stressed, they feel depressed. All of these things are because, partly, not all, but partly because they're not getting the food that they need. They're not allowing themselves to fuel their bodies and their minds when they're hungry. Now, I understand that, this is really hard when you're struggling with an eating disorder, or feeling like you're struggling with disordered eating, bad mindsets around food, etc. I'm not discounting that. I just want you to know, and I think that it's helpful to know, that food is working for you, that food is working for you. Because I think a lot of times we do these things because we feel like food is the enemy and is keeping us from feeling our best, or loving the way we look, or reaching health goals. But it's not. It's working for you. And so reminding yourself that food is working for you, especially on those hard days, especially on the days when you're struggling, That can be really helpful. Now, I know also eating disorders and food issues can be because you want to have control in life, right? That was part of it for me, needing control. Maybe it's a flip in mindset where you remind yourself that, no, I can't control everything around me. I just can't. It's life. We can't control everything. But I can control how I'm taking care of myself. I can control making sure that my mind is getting what it needs in order for me to feel my best mentally. I can control eating the foods that make me feel good physically. I can control, doing those things consistently that help me feel my best physically and mentally. I don't think any of us feel our best physically or mentally when we struggle with an eating disorder. I know I didn't. I felt like shit, like 99% of the time. Some of it was mental, some of it was physical, but I don't think any of us feel our best when we are really struggling with those things. And so reminding yourself that, not only can you control a little bit more how you feel physically and mentally, but you're also worthy of feeling good physically and mentally. You're worthy of a beautiful life. You're worthy of taking care of yourself. You are worthy of living a life that you love. And so when we're struggling with those issues, we're not living a life that we love. We're not living a happy, joyful, peaceful life outside of ourselves, but certainly not inside of ourselves either. You are deserving of loving yourself, of loving your body, of loving your mind, and not feeling guilty and shame for loving yourself, for showing up for yourself, and not feeling guilt or shame for struggling. I think a lot of times we're told to just, pray it away, or, we're supposed to be happy. We're not supposed to struggle. But we all struggle, and it's okay to struggle. And when you shame yourself for it and push it all down inside and act like everything's fine, then it gets even worse. And so I just want to remind you today that your body and your mind are deserving of all of the food groups. It needs all of the food groups, and it needs consistent eating throughout the day in order to function well. And you are so deserving of a beautiful, fulfilling, healthy life. And so if you need help with this, if you've been around for a while, my contact info is always in the show notes. Please reach out. Do not hesitate. I know what it's like to struggle. And so it is my mission to make you feel seen and remind you that you're not alone. Because I know what it's like to struggle and to feel like you're all alone. And you're not. You're not alone. So if you need help with this, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you don't reach out to me, please reach out to someone who will be able to help you, because you're worthy of it. And if you are struggling with cutting out certain food groups, I don't want you to feel like you have to throw everything all back in all at once and eat a ton of carbs and fats if you're not eating any right now, right? That feels overwhelming. Start small. Add in, if right now you're not eating any carbs, add in 1 serving of carbs a day and get used to that for a little while, and then add in another one. Same with fats, just add in a little bit here and there and let it start to feel more familiar to your body again, and also more natural in your habits and in your patterns of eating, and then continue to keep adding. You don't have to do it all at once, but start to add those things back in if you've been cutting out, because your body and your mind need it. And I think you'll be surprised at how much better you feel once you add them back in and start to add them back in. So I hope that this was helpful today. I hope that you will come back. I will be back next week because I screwed up and did not do a podcast last week. So I am here for you 2 weeks in a row, and then I'll be back to my every other week. But I hope that this was helpful. Come back next week. Email me if you have questions or thoughts or takeaways or need help, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for being here.